What is your risk tolerance like now that you have kids and massive company, big brand? Has your risk tolerance changed?
No.
Still just...
Back then, when I maxed out all my credit cards, people were like, were you scared? You know, I maxed out 50 grand worth of credit cards. I didn't have much money.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would I be scared? Like, I'm broke either way. There's three things that, even if you take away all the cash, the businesses, the rentals, any asset that I currently own, say you took them all away and I had to start over. Well, I have three things that you can never take away. So, number one,
well, thanks so much for having me out to Vegas and having me on your podcast and taking this interview. Let's dive right into it. So one of the main things that I think both of our audiences would love to learn is how you transitioned into flipping and how you scaled to the size that you're at now.
Yeah. Well, you know, we were talking beforehand. You've been a realtor now for 10 years.
About 10 years, yeah.
You get started when you're 20. That was when I got started as a realtor. I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
I was back in 2010. And then I hated it, dude. Being a realtor was just awful. And for those wondering, too, I lost my voice in Cancun this week, so I sound a little raspy. But, yeah, I hated it. And I actually gave up real estate after a couple of years because it was just so unfulfilling and I didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all I cared about was playing baseball. At the time, I was a pro baseball player, so it was just kind of like a side hustle for me.
Yeah.
Also, in fact, too, I mean, 2010 was literally, people think being a realtor is bad now. They weren't a realtor in 2010.
Yeah.
Like, being a realtor in 2010 was 1,000 times worse than what it is now. You know, this house, you were just telling us, you know, you guys are selling homes for $2 million on average. I mean, the average house in Las Vegas in 2010 was $100,000.
That's crazy.
So you think about what your commissions were, it was nothing.
Yeah.
And you think about how hard it was to get a buyer because there was no listings. Everything was foreclosed on. So all you could do was become a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
Nobody had credit. They all got foreclosed on. So that's the environment I grew up in. And I was like, why would anyone do this? This sucks.
Yeah.
So I quit. I quit after a couple of years because it's just dumb.
Yeah.
And I started doing side hustles where I was making more money. I was flipping couches. I was doing all that stuff. And then, you know, in 2015, I read a book by Brandon Turner, who, you know, was the host of Bigger Pockets and now a good buddy. And I was like, oh, I could flip houses. I don't like need all this money. And so 2015, I just decided, I was like, I'm going to be a house flipper. And, you know, I maxed out all my credit cards and it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You took the risk.
Oh, I've taken many risks.
And I think that's another great touch point. I feel like a lot of people are so risk adverse.
They're
And,
soft.
That's where the money is made. You don't get to make money without risk. It doesn't exist unless you want a 9-to-5. So what?
A 9-to-5 is risky.
That's actually more risky.
It's way more risky, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not in control of your future. You let somebody else dictate, you know, whether or not you'll have a job tomorrow. That's more risky to me.
I agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
What is your risk tolerance like now that you have kids and massive company, big brand? Has your risk tolerance changed?
No.
Still just...
I still go freaking just going for it. Yeah, because look, I mean, this is how I saw it. Back then, when I maxed out all my credit cards, people were like, were you scared? You know, I maxed out 50 grand worth of credit cards. I didn't have much money.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would I be scared? Like, I'm broke either way. Even if this fails, I'm negative 50 grand. I'm broke still. It's zero, negative 50 grand's the same.
Yeah.
And I try to tell people that at like our events and everything. They're like, oh, I don't know, you know, I just don't have the money. And I'm like, well, you should for sure be the one taking a massive risk because you literally have nothing to lose.
There's nothing to lose.
Negative is the same as zero.
Yeah.
So, yeah, back then I really wasn't that scared because I just understood that concept even at that time.
Yeah.
Today, you brought up a good point. There's way more to lose, you know, kids, family, businesses, reputation, social media, all this stuff, right? But on the other hand, I look at it and I'm like, well, actually, I still don't really have a lot to lose, and I'll tell you why. You know, there's three things that even if you take away all the cash, the businesses, the rentals, any asset that I currently own, say you took them all away and I had to start over. Well, I have three things that you can never take away. So number one are the skills I've developed over the years.
Right.
Okay. So the skills I have today versus 10 years ago, it's night and day. I know how to get leads, make sales, make products, make offers, make content, make money. All the skills I have can make money tomorrow and the next day and the next day, and I can make it out of thin air. So that's one. Two is I have the relationships and the network that I've built. So, you know, on social media, our database, like all the friends, like I literally have built this thing in the last 10 years that, you know, network is super, super powerful, as everyone knows. And so, you know, right now, if I make a post on social media, I can generate revenue right this moment. If I send an email out to our list and to hundreds of thousands of people, I can generate revenue. So like, you can't take that away. I have it.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So that's the second thing. And those two things, by the way, are far more valuable than cash in the bank or real estate portfolio. Way more valuable. People don't understand the value of, there's other asset classes beyond just cash and real estate, stocks and stuff. Skills is an asset. Relationships are assets. But the third thing and the most important thing is just faith. You know, at the end of the day, like, I know where I'm going when I die. So what do I got to care about, like, what happens money-wise here? You know, God says that, you know, everything's for my good as a believer. Romans 8:28. So it's like, you go through a tough time, which, by the way, this year has been extremely tough going through, you know, for anyone in real estate. And so I know that it's for my good, you know. I may have lost money, but it was for my good. I've learned a lot. I'm still here. My family's still here. I actually have one extra to the family this year.
Let's go.
You know? So like, it's all good either way. And like, my family isn't going to disown me if I lose our money. Like, they know I'll make it back next week.
Yeah. I absolutely love that outlook. And you're actually kind of opening my eyes during this conversation, because oftentimes we all look at our net worth and we all look at what we have to lose, but none of us add to the balance sheet our network of connections, our ability to transact. And I think that is an amazing point that will connect with a lot of our listeners.
Yeah. And it really goes back to what are you actually tracking? You know, people track the wrong things. Imagine if you're a business and you're creating your goals and your KPIs. Like, the first thing I asked you before this interview, I was like, hey, so like, what's your goals? Like, what'd you guys do this year? And you named like 3 different things of like, well, you know, this number's important, but actually this number's important. And actually, you know, like, if I do it this way, that's also could be a way. I'm like, all right, I get it, you know, but there's still kind of like a little bit of ambiguity of how to get there and what's the most important thing to you.
Right.
And goal. And, you know, in order for a business to be successful, or a person or whatever, having a very clear KPI of what's going to move the needle the most in your life is very, very important, because most people measure things that they can tangibly see. So measuring the bank account, measuring how many units you have, measuring, you know, all those things that's easy. Anyone can do that. But how are you measuring the relationship with your wife or your kids?
That's a really good one.
How are you measuring the relationship with God? How are you measuring whether you got healthier this year, right? Is it just looking at the scale? Like, so there's these very ambiguous things to measure, you know, like you just said. How do you measure the value of your network or your skills and like what you learned? Because the results don't come for years and years down the road.
I completely agree with that, because being a realtor, now crossing the 10-year threshold, there's deals that come to fruition now that I started working on just as friendships 10 years ago. Yeah. And that is so hard to value, because it scales as we get older. And that kind of brings us back, like, our network and our skills could arguably be more valuable than our net worth. Yeah. And network and skills go hand in hand. You know, people ask me, they're like, who's your mentor? And I'll be like, well, I don't have like one guy who's a mentor. I would say the only person that truly mentors me on a weekly basis
would be our head pastor at Wealthy Kingdom, Matty Montgomery. Him and I have a call every Wednesday at 6:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing that for the last year and a half. And so everything else I've ever done, I'll hire a consultant here. I'll pay him 30 grand. I'll hire this guy. I'll, be friends with that guy. And so like I have this vast array of skills and people that I'm trying to build relationships with. They're the same thing, right? It takes a person to teach you a skill.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were just in Cancun, and one of the attendees was asking me, he was like, Ryan, I've been stuck at $2 million in my business the last 2 years. I don't really know what to do. All the people I hire suck, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, you suck. It's not the people you hire that suck. If you can't find good leaders around you and you always have this problem of hiring, it's you. And, he's a hustler. He's a great entrepreneur. He's a natural salesman. And I go, you are like a great hustler and sales guy. And you will sell probably, as like with realtors, there's a cap to how much you personally can sell.
Right.
And then it becomes, all right, well, this is it. So if I want to build the business and grow it, then I have to do something different. I have to learn how to build a team. Maybe I have to switch markets and go to a more expensive market if I don't want to build a team. Like there's lots of ways to approach it, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, what I basically told him was, I was like, your biggest problem is you're transactional and you don't actually know what's important. And the reason I was telling him this is because I've known him for a while now. And I was like, think about it, dude. Like everything you do, like you try to get these meetings with people and it's to like make a sale and to do that. And I go, there's nothing wrong with that, but like, you'll never have a long-term relationship where you're actually learning and building skills. And, I gave him an example. He sells B2B. And so, he's trying to get these clients who will pay $50,000 to $100,000 a month in marketing dollars towards his business because his business has, marketing stuff. And he's got a few of these guys. And I was like, if I was you, I'd be trying to build a relationship with a guy like Neil Patel, who already goes B2B with all these, big companies. And, he's managed billions of dollars of ad spend. He's made tons of money doing it. I was like, I'd be going to him to figure out, how he's gotten these connections B2B, because that's how he grew his business. And like his first thought was, yeah, like if I go to Neil, maybe he'll start sending me business and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, dude, no, you missed the entire point.
Yeah,
like,
you're going for the relationship.
He's going for the transaction. He's thinking, oh, well, Neil is a vehicle to get more transactions. And I go, you're dumb. You're like thinking like a sales guy, not an operator.
Yeah.
And I go, the operator would approach Neil and just want to build a relationship and pick his brain about how he got those relationships, and add value and, everything else. I would not ask him for a referral. I would not ask him, to send me business. That's what dumb people do who are transactional and think short-sighted.
Yeah.
And so
I think that's why a lot of realtors
are dumb.
Get kicked out of the business.
Yeah, 99% of them are dumb.
Yeah.
And so that's why 1% do the majority of the volume, because they don't think this short-term transaction. They think long-term relationship, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just realtors. It's like everyone. So, I told him, I go, why do I have a relationship with Neil? I've literally never asked Neil for one thing. Mm-hmm. We met, we hit it off, we did a podcast. It was great. Mm-hmm. I've never asked him for anything. Now, he's actually asked me for stuff, ironically. Like, he'll call me out of the blue. He wanted to sell his home here in Vegas, $20 million home. He's like, what do you think I should do in this situation, right? And he wasn't asking me because he wanted me to go list it or there's no financial incentive for me. Yeah. It was just like as a friend. And I'm like, well, here's what I would do, X, Y, Z. And sure enough, he took the advice, sold it, and it was done. And, since then too, it's just like, I don't need him for anything, and he doesn't need me for anything. It's just a mutually beneficial relationship. Mm-hmm. And that's how you have to start looking at things. And sure enough, you are going to want to call in favors, here or there. Like Brandon Turner and I have become such good friends, and he's in town right now, and he just texts me. He's like, dude, I never asked for anything, but can you make an intro to Ed Milet for me? Mm-hmm. And so I said, sure. Let me ask Ed first. And so I hype up Brandon because Brandon's my guy. And I'm like, hey, you got to meet Brandon, dude. And he's like, yeah, somebody else told me I needed to meet him too. Like, intro us. I was like, perfect. And that's all I do. It's
Yeah.
just like, it's long. There's no benefit to me, and there doesn't have to be.
Yeah. That's why I love golfing.
Yeah.
You get out, you're just meeting guys and you're going out there just to have fun. And if you shake hands.
Or gamble.
Or gamble.
Yeah.
And then you like shake hands and you're like, okay, I spent 4 hours. I really like this guy.
Yeah.
Like, this is my boy. Like, we're the same people.
Yeah. What's your handicap?
I'm at like a 17 right now.
Okay.
I'm not
So you're
amazing,
just learning. But dude, I mean, at a 17, you're bogey.
Getting there.
Yeah.
There. What about yourself?
I'm a 3 right now.
You're low, dude.
Yeah.
You've been hitting the simulator or what?
I have one at my house.
There we go.
Yeah.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
I was hoping we could get out tomorrow, but we're going to go out with my boy, my buddy from Skyview Trading. He's another finance YouTube. He's got they have roughly 500K subs. And
Is he from Vegas or he just visiting?
From Vegas, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's a good friend of mine.
Cool.
And yeah, super excited about that. But another thing I wanted to touch on, it sounds like you had a turning point in your career where you kind of stopped playing the same games, expecting the same outcomes, and you kind of transitioned and scaled into something bigger. Mm-hmm. Where do you feel that occurred, or was that just like a natural progression for you?
I think I've had different moments in my life where it finally seemed so obvious that this was the next step. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say I'm just so good at recognizing opportunities or predicting the future or whatever, but I would just say I just try to lean into what God's calling me to do. Mm-hmm. Actually this morning I thought of this really good slogan for Wealthy Kingdom while I was reading, and basically the slogan is obedience over ambition. And the thing is, so many entrepreneurs are very ambitious and we want to grow, and there's nothing wrong with having ambition, but when ambition supersedes obedience to what God's calling you to do, then there's a problem. And obedience is a tough thing to do because on one hand, what if God's calling you to do something that's not as profitable?
Yeah.
And what if he's calling you to do something you don't want to do?
Yeah.
Are you going to still do it? Or is it going to mess with your ambitious plans that you already had set for yourself? Mm-hmm. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot, because when I look back at my life and what's led to this point, one, I don't think I'm anywhere where, anything close to whatever God's going to lead me to do. Mm-hmm. I don't know what 5 years from now it's going to look like. But I can tell you for a fact that whenever I was walking in obedience, he opened the next door into something I would have never imagined. And most of the time I didn't want to do it. In 2015, when I talked about the story of going back into real estate, dude, think about it. I had just been scarred by real estate in, my early life. And I'm like, dude, real estate sucks. Commissions suck. Being a realtor sucks. I do not want to get into real estate again. Mm-hmm. But sure enough, through a bunch of different circumstances I didn't talk about, you could just tell it was only from God that I was forced back into it. Mm-hmm. But I walked in obedience. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do this and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Then I look at things like social media, during COVID, and I'm like, all right, I don't know what the next thing is, but we got 50 house flips going on. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm locked up in my house. What should I do? And it's like, start making TikToks and YouTube. And I'm like, what the heck, man? This is so dumb. I don't want to be that guy. But, you do it and you just see whatever God does with it, right? And, so he's done that many times in my life. I thought my purpose was to play baseball. I mean, I spent the first 27 years of my life playing baseball. Yeah. Thinking that was the thing. And then it wasn't. And I would say that was more ambition than obedience.
Yeah.
And now, I look at what is God calling me to do in 2024 and beyond, and it's clear that with the platform and the stewardship and everything he's given me, it's like, all right, it's time to show entrepreneurs about, how life is supposed to be lived. Yeah. And, use my life as a testimony to that. And, on top of that, just on the business side, to look at everything in a very different way. Mm-hmm. Don't ever just think about, hey, oh, this is what the world's doing, or this guy's doing, or that guy's doing, but to truly just do it in a way so unique that it stands out.
Yeah. I feel identically in that regard. I recently started trusting God's judgment more than my own, maybe in the past couple years, more so than in the past. And that's when things kind of really started to pick up. That's when life started to transition. Things started to make sense. Sometimes things didn't make sense, like you talked about, where it'd be the middle of the week and I'm looking at this deal in Texas and God's like, well, fly to Texas. And I'm like, well, I have a million things happening right now. I don't. And he's like, nope, fly to Texas. And so I did it, and he saved me from what would have been a big financial loss, I think. And I think the more that we dive into what we're told to do, like you said, the better off we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, think about it, right? Do I think that I'm so smart that I just know the best way to do everything, and that, my plans are so good? Or, if I believe I have the Holy Spirit inside of me who gives me literally the same power as God, then why wouldn't I just trust what the Holy Spirit is calling me to do?
Mm-hmm.
It would make no logical sense to lean on my own mind and understanding.
Right. Is there anything that you're doing in your business right now that is kind of transitioning from not playing the same game as before that we talked about earlier? Whereas, I guess, for an example, like moving forward for me, I'm moving my sales price up, joining a different country club, doing things like that. Is there anything in your business that you're altering right now to scale out like that?
Yeah, we're changing a lot of things. What country club are you joining?
Looking at Sherwood right now. Right now I'm at the Little Sherwood, which is like a par 3 course, which is great fun, great practice.
Yeah.
But next year we're looking at joining the big club.
Nice.
And
what's their fee?
They're at it's about $140K right now to join.
Yeah.
And then, for me being a realtor, the expensive part is taking clients out, because there's no point of having the membership if you're not going to take people golfing.
Yeah.
So that's where the payment gets fun. But
my golf memberships are they're not even, they're used for me. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm in the process of buying a discovery property. And, we'll see, how it goes. I might flip it, or I might, we'll see. But,
what is a discovery property?
So Discovery Land Company, they're like the biggest and best and most expensive, communities in the world.
Okay.
And so they have about 30 of them worldwide.
I think I remember you talking about this once, actually, where there's like other celebrities that you bought a piece of land.
I mean, like literally every celebrity's there.
Yeah.
So like, Palm Springs has, one or two, like Madison Club and stuff, if you've heard of that. I think those might be some of the only ones in California. They try to avoid California because it's just, it sucks. So, but yeah, they have a bunch of them, but like they're literally the most expensive like real estate in the world. But their country clubs are ridiculous,
And is that going to be like a flip play? Is that a networking play? Is it both?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a great deal overall. Mm-hmm. And, we'll see. I think right now I could probably flip it for $1 million profit if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. So either way, you can't lose. But yeah, you got me thinking about it, because the networking is like, it's the upper echelon of networking. Like, it's literally, maybe I'm the poorest person there, yeah, that's good.
That's like my entire thought process behind joining Sherwood is I'm not looking at it transactionally. I'm not joining and going, hey, you, and you. I look at it more from the standpoint of I'm going to be spending more time with people that are like you, that are high net worth, high performers, where it's going to change the way I think. Yeah. And the network aspect of it will eventually transact, but it'll be organic.
Yeah, what you'll find with most high-end golf clubs is everyone's pretty old. So,
they are old.
Yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. So, like, I'm usually the youngest, well, if not the youngest, one of the youngest, like, at every club I'm at, which is both good and bad, because you're like, it's whatever, right? But, I guess what I've realized is half the things for networking, I don't even use. So like social media is just this like ultimate tool where like people can just find me that, you know, want to network, and like, it's great.
Yeah.
So I don't really, it's hard for me to justify the country club now because I don't need it to connect with people.
Right.
But I do it for fun.
And you're not, I mean, there's no direct sales that are happening at the country club for you. It's more for enjoyment. Is that correct?
Yeah.
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 Lifestyle, family. But yeah, like as far as things that I'm changing, I would say there's two main things. One is just like culture and everything. So I've been changing our culture the last 2 months, and, you know, being really deep into that. And I think that that's a necessity to get to the next level, because if we have, say, you know, 80-ish employees now, if I want to get to 500 employees, you know, the way you look at transaction volume is the same way I'll look at employees. Like if I have that many people working for me, then we're probably doing really good, right?
Right.
So, you know, I just know if I set the culture now, I'm not going to be able to have relationships with the next 500 people that come. So these core people are going to be really important to maintain that culture.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's one thing. The second thing is I've actually done the opposite of what most people do. So, man, I kind of like remove myself very quickly in many things. And so I would say the last few years, I have not been involved like in day-to-day back-end stuff, like at all.
Yeah.
And
that's amazing, by the way.
Yeah. And it's worked obviously. And so just keep running it. But I understand that in order to get to the next level, plus you go through a recession, you know, you got to go in, and then, you know, when you go in and you grow so fast, you realize how many things are inefficient or broken, and, you know, all this stuff you never saw before. And so for me, I can now clearly see like all of the problems that have happened along the way of scale, all of the inefficiencies, all of the weaknesses. And it's very obvious to me that I have to be in it.
Yeah.
Probably for the next 6 months, building the foundation for, let's just say, $100 million company. Because, you know, getting there takes building the foundation first. It's not just doing more deals.
Yeah.
You know, or selling more clients or whatever. So, yeah, I'm in the back end building out the processes of every little thing right now, all the way from CRMs to marketing to processes to automations to positions. Like,
so you're in the trenches with your team building out this automation. Is that correct? Okay. And
nobody would ever see it, but yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Those processes are hard to build.
And for me, you know, I think it's one of those things where I've talked about it before, but, you know, there are things that you do that are short-term and long-term in your business, right? So a short-term play would be you're showing a house right now, you're hoping to sell and make money. It's a short-term thing, right? Granted, if you do a good job, you might get a referral and it could be a long-term thing, but, you know, that's a short-term thing. For me, I don't sell, so, you know, I'm not on sales calls or anything like that. So like a short-term thing for me would be a podcast. It's like, yeah, this is kind of like what I do on an every week basis to, you know, do what I got to do for the business, like to play my part in my role, right? So like that would be an example of a short-term thing. Long-term thing would be, all right, what are the things I'm doing that are going to produce a lot of long-term value, right? So building new relationships builds long-term value. Nothing will come of it today, but, you know, years and years from now it will. Second thing would be all of these automations and processes, because if I can go build the back end of a machine that can produce so much and get it set up from the jump, and then I can just hand it off to the managers, and then at that point it's just a matter of plugging in more marketing dollars and plugging in more people to handle the scale, then that's easy. But if you don't have the machine, then you can't do it. And so I know that this is like a very important long-term thing for me to be involved with. And so, you know, I try to focus the majority of my time on long-term things. You know, another example of things I work on are like new products, new companies, new offers. So like those are all long-term things that, yeah, you know, if we create this offer right, it's going to make us X amount in the long haul.
Are you in the private equity space? I know like Chris Crone, for example, is making a big leap into acquiring more companies and playing that game. Are you playing that game, or are you more focused on scaling out your current ventures?
I'm playing both games, but I'm very selective on the other company side. I have started and sold or shut down quite a few businesses in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, majority of them were actually profitable. And you start to see that, like, man, is this worth my time? Is this worth trying to, can this even scale, right?
I'm in one of those right now.
Yeah. For example, because I always hate on realtors, I had a real estate brokerage with 200 realtors. Yeah. It was profitable, but,
you bought it?
No, I built it.
Oh, you started that company?
Yeah. And I shut it down. Mm-hmm. Like, it just wasn't really worth it.
Yeah.
And, it's not like we were losing money. Like, we were making money. But it just, obviously I'm not passionate about realtors. So, like...
Yeah, it's not a business that you want to be affiliated with.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't matter because I transact with realtors every day.
Yeah. Do
I believe that every realtor should just invest instead? 100%. But that's just my opinion, and that's the path I took.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, for me, like I said, I've shut down businesses, I've sold businesses, I've bought businesses, I've partnered with people, some good, some bad. So I've gone through a lot of different things in business, and the conclusion is this: it's like, for me at this point, I have my clear winners that are going to be around for the long haul. I've been flipping and wholesaling for almost a decade. Yeah. That ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Our education, our events and stuff, that ain't going nowhere. Social media ain't going nowhere. So those are 3 clear winners that are going to be around for a very long time that, I need to go much deeper in.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, we have other things too that, we're doing big things on as well. We've got my nonprofit for Christian entrepreneurs called Wealthy Kingdom. We've got our fund with Pineda Capital. We've got our NFT project with Tykes, which, it's funny because crypto is always bull and bust.
Yeah.
And right now everything's ripping again, and people are like, oh crap, I mean, is crypto back? And it's like, this is literally what it always does.
Yeah, this is just what happens.
Everyone hates you for like a little bit, then they love you, and then they hate you. And so, I'm a big believer in crypto, so I know that ain't going anywhere either.
Yeah.
But, it's just doubling down on like the things that are currently here. And, I've got some other things that like I'm a board member of that nobody really knows about. And we're always looking at acquiring businesses too, because I get a lot of deal flow. And sometimes I just pass off those opportunities to people in our Tykes community for investments. But yeah, like this year in 2024, really my big focus is optimizing what's already here and really
going deeper,
going super deep on it, because we now have enough experience and skill and data to know how to do it.
Yeah.
When you're growing and scaling something, like you're just testing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
To that point. Now we've tested and we know.
Yeah. I think a lot of people make the mistake of, particularly when you're new, of just starting 5 different businesses and trying to run with all of them. Whereas, and correct me if I'm wrong, you may have a completely different outlook than I do. I'm a big proponent of becoming really, really good at that one venture. Mm-hmm. And then once you have the knowledge of how to actually scale something, then going outwards with it. Do you share that same view, or what's your outlook?
I think it depends on what stage you're in. For me, people see a lot of different things that I do, right? Whether it's real estate or social media or education or crypto or, baseball and golf. Like, I've done a lot of different things. And what people don't see is everything that kind of led to that point. So like, remember the first 27 years of my life, all I did was play baseball. So I just like was focused on only that. That's why real estate never took off. I'm just like, I don't care about real estate. It's just baseball.
Yeah.
Once baseball ended, it was all house flipping. It was not rentals. It wasn't multifamily. It wasn't being a realtor. It was like, I am going to be the best house flipper I can possibly be. And that was all I did for 5 years. From there, 2020 hits and I'm like, all right, my house flipping business is on autopilot because I'm 5 years into this, like dialed in, flipping hundreds of houses. And I'm like, I'm going all in on social media because for me to be great at this, I have to learn it and just master it. So I go all in on social media. We do great. Along with social media comes education, just because that's a natural byproduct of it.
Right.
And so, we get really good at that. And, all of it was just one thing at a time, one new skill that I chose to master each step of the way.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, as I go into 2024, the skill that I'm really mastering is all of this back end stuff that nobody sees. And, to me, I'm just calling it digital marketing. Everything you would see with ads and funnels and landing pages and offers and events and channel, like all the things that, are obviously important for education, but they're important for any product or service you're going to sell online.
Yeah.
So I just know, I'm like, all right, the next probably 2 to 3 years, that is all I need to focus on. And it's not that I really want to. It's just, I know it's necessary.
You just have to. Yeah.
I have to do it. There's no other way around it. And I've now seen enough people that we've hired enough companies and consultants and everything else for me to know that it ain't that hard. I mean, I'm very, I guess, optimistic, and everyone always laughs because I'm like, guys, this is going to be easy, because I really think that. And I'm just like, guys, this isn't going to be that hard. That's not going to be that hard. That's the mindset I walk into everything with. If I truly think I see the path, I have a blueprint, it's just simply execution. If I know the roadmap and all I have to do is execute, that's easy.
I think that's all successful people for the most part they have, at least from my experience with some of the higher net worth clients that I've worked with, they have the ability to create a vision of something and then bring it to fruition. Would you say that is a trait that you've seen in a majority of successful people?
Yeah, I would say a lot of people I know, obviously most successful people, they're what you would call visionaries. I do see some delusional visionaries, especially on social media, where, they have these big, massive dreams and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And I'm like, well, you haven't even done this yet.
Yeah.
Let's do this first. And so I think an important thing with a visionary is having a proper, at least next attainable step.
Yeah.
Because it's all right, you want to be a billionaire. Cool. Dude, you don't even know the first thing to get there.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I would do it.
Yeah. Do you want to be a billionaire? Is that something?
No, I don't care. But either way, I'm just saying I don't know exactly how it would happen.
Yeah.
For me. Because I do know different paths to get there.
Yeah.
Right? Almost literally every single path includes selling a company. Very few people get there from real estate. Very few people get there from saving money.
No one gets there from saving money.
No, the paths are pretty clear how to get there, right? It's you sell a business. Now, what businesses do that? I mean, most, if they're going to be quick, it was some tech company that just went nuts. It could be something that's slow, and it's a company that got built for 10, 20 years and eventually just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's, it went public or it sold or whatever. Right. So I know the framework to get there, but nothing has, fall in my lap or, nor do I feel called to be that's the idea. That's what we're going all in on for the next 10 years.
Yeah. You're not going to make that call unless you have the at least the roadmap of the vision.
Well, the obedience to whatever God's called me to do.
Right. Right.
That's all that really matters, because it's just I could care less I don't care if I'm a billionaire, but if there's this roadmap and I feel called to go execute on it, the path will be really hard to do. So, at the end of the day, it's all right, if that's what I feel God's called me to do, then I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
But my point with that story is people will say, I want to be a billionaire, and maybe they're not even a millionaire yet. Maybe they're not even.
They want to buy 100 rentals and they haven't even
Bought
done a
one.
flip or
Yeah,
done
so
a wholesale.
They have two. And it's like, well, okay, I get, you got this big end goal. That's great. Who knows how you're going to get there, how long it'll take, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, let's set a goal for today.
Yeah.
That can actually happen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a big believer in just going step by step.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you for a piece of advice, because earlier I talked about my personal goals for next year, and which was $100 million in sales.
Yep.
And we kind of had two different verticals to get there, and we discussed that maybe lacking a specific direction in terms of, it could be flips or it could be sales. And would your piece of advice be to specify the number of flips and the number of sales, or how would you target that in if you were in my shoes?
I don't think of it that way. The way I would think about it is, if the goal is to make, $2.5 million, you start breaking it down and you're like, all right, I mean, that's basically $200,000 a month. Now, you're not going to go $200,000 a month, month one. It's probably wherever your baseline is today. You can start projecting out and you're like, okay, well, it's at $100,000 right now. And then, maybe by month 5, we'll be at 150, and then it'll be 200, and then it'll be 250. Like, that's how I would imagine it, ideally happening. So you're kind of projecting out that way. But with actually like the strategy and the game plan, I still think that the process is too simplified some might say it's actually too scattered. So like what I'm trying to say is right now you're like, hey, I just need to sell $100 million of real estate, or maybe I sell 50 million of real estate and I flip
Supplement with the,
$1 million profit of homes, right? Those are possible. But like the way I like to think about it is like, what do I got to do every day that makes this goal happen? So the way I would be doing it for you is I would say, all right, look, how many sellers do I just need to talk to every day? And what are the demographic of those sellers, right? Because, to go get 100 million, you can either just talk to more sellers and sell more homes, or you can sell double the price point.
Yeah.
There's lots of things you can do, right? So you got to first define that.
Yeah.
Once you define that, you just backtrack and say, well, how many of these guys do I need to talk to every day, right? The other thing you can do is, instead of looking at it from the listing perspective, which is what most realtors do, making one tweak to your process could just get you there currently with what you do right now. The one simple tweak could just be, well, what if I changed my sales pitch to sellers? And instead of going there with my listing appointment thing that I've had practiced and success with, what if I changed my whole process, which is going to be scary because, you've had success to this point. But in order to reach new levels of success, you have to do different things.
Yeah.
And so, what if instead of going there for a listing, you're going in there as an investor straight up from the beginning?
Yeah.
And, you change the whole thing of, well, yeah, we could list it and this is what it is, but, this is the market. So how long it would take, like, what if you could buy it? Like, what if somebody would buy it right now?
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be you, right? It's just changing the process that way to go for investment instead of listing.
Yeah. What you said to me earlier stood out about automating like lead flow and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Because I have 2 team members, and right now it's a lot of grassroots door knocking, open houses.
Yeah.
Like, I transact a lot, but it's grunt work. It's literally grunt work.
And so, like
and
I
some
said,
of it's high network,
that's why, like, I'm not even thinking about it from how I think about the process, not the result.
Yeah.
And I think about, what does like a $100 million process look like? And that's not like, that's the question that hasn't even been answered. You're just like, I want to hit 100 million. I want to be a billionaire, but I'm already thinking, I get that.
Yeah.
What process needs to change dramatically, which is why I'm saying I'm back in the business changing processes.
Yeah.
I've never once mentioned what a goal is for next year, because I just know if I change the processes and I make them better every day, whatever happens, happens. The chips are going to fall wherever they may. I can't control it. I don't even think about it.
Interesting. So you don't have like a target for a profit next year. You're just like,
I could throw a number out there, but it's irrelevant to me.
Right.
I won't look at it and I won't be like, oh guys, we're like way off pace.
Yeah.
We need to step it up. Like if I'm doing everything I possibly can on the process and I know that that's as good as it can be because I'm building a process for the long term, then I'm good. I'm not going to go do these random things to try and get like a shot to like I'm going to stay committed to the process.
Yeah. You're not going to go outside of your game plan because you're
like, I believe my
off
game
target.
plan.
Yeah.
And it may not play out at the rate that, you know, I'm hoping for a yearly arbitrary goal. But I know that in the long haul, it will play out. Like that was the same way I looked at social media when I started in 2020. I was like, I know this is legit. I don't need anyone else to tell me this isn't the right thing long term. Now, is it going to grow as fast as I want it to do in year one? I don't know. I really don't know. But I just know if I stay committed to the process and I get better every day, I look at the feedback, I adjust, I pivot, I test new things every single day, it's going to get to where it needs to go.
I think a lot of that could come from being a professional athlete. Like looking at incremental improvements in processes as opposed to trying to do one big thing. Because like in sports, I was a soccer goalie. I never made it big. I made it to community college. But I played for like 15 years. Yeah. And you never do one big thing in sports.
You don't win the championship just like showing up.
Yeah, like, oh, I made one crazy save at practice.
Yeah,
like, no one
it's
cares.
Just every single day, dude, you put in the work. You got better. You learn from your mistakes. You failed.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's what it is for me. Every day is a new game, and I'm just literally trying to do my very best today and make the best. Basically, I'm trying to set the right process from day one and have a proper understanding of how long I'm going to commit to this process.
Yeah.
Before either I give up because it's not working, which is totally fine, by the way. There's nothing to tell you that your process is going to be correct. But you do need to have a realistic expectation of when to cut the cord.
Yeah.
Because it's like social media. People are always like, Ryan, I want to get into social media. I'll be like, all right, well, odds are it's not going to make you money for like the first year.
Yeah.
If you like are truly committed. And, you know, if you're not willing to lose that money, then don't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, that's what that's like what I'm committed to. And that's why I just said, like, I was like, I'm going to commit the next 2 to 3 years of my life getting really good at this back end process. And like, that's what I'm focused on.
I am definitely going to clip and post that piece of what you just said, because everybody is so laser focused, myself included, like when I walked in here, on what is the goal.
Yeah, the 100 million.
And not just improving the processes.
I mean, that's
love
how
that.
you get to the goal.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
It's like if, you know, go back to faith. It's like, all right, like the goal is to get to heaven. You know, it's like, all right, what's the process? Well, this is where people get into debates. You know, you're like, well, I could go this path. I could go try to be a Hindu. I could go be a Mormon. I could go be this and that. And then, like, you know, you can go test a bunch of different things. And then, like, you have to decide which process you're going to commit to.
Yeah.
And the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, all right, I've committed, you know, I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to only believe the Bible. I'm not going to get caught up with all this other crap that people say. I'm not going to, if somebody gets butthurt by it, I don't care. That's fine. I'm going to stay committed to the process. And that's what I do every day. Yeah. Now, am I in heaven yet? You know, I mean, you can make the argument that, you know, life is pretty good, but I'm not with God yet, you know? So like the result isn't there, but the process is always being refined and tweaked. And, you know, I'm like, man, how do I get closer to God? How do I, you know, develop, you know, my knowledge and my theology? How do I listen to the Holy Spirit better? How do I, so those things are always being tweaked in the process. So I'm very process driven.
Yeah. Yeah. I do a Tuesday morning meeting with my pastor and like a few young guys, and we show up every Tuesday. And every Tuesday, I feel like I'm getting a little bit closer to God. I'm feeling a little more focused.
That's a great process.
Becoming more
But do you have
obedient.
a goal of like, I need to feel this close to God?
It's so funny when you phrase it that way.
So, but that's the goal. That's like how people set goals,
Yeah.
you know, versus like, look, this is a process I'm going to trust and believe in. And every single week or day, I'm going to just execute on it with faith. And I'm going to, you know, tweak and try and get better every single day. And that's all I do.
Yeah. I will say, though, I have seen some Christian people that do kind of look at it transactionally and like try to work their way up in the church with like social status, as opposed to just like focusing on their relationship with God. And that's something to me that's always like been kind of a funny concept, because that's like the exact opposite of what God wants. God just wants us to be like present and to like obey, not to gain status from church. Do you experience any of that, or is your church pretty low key? Like,
you know,
I've been at big churches before, small churches, all over.
Yeah, I've been at both. To be honest, dude, I don't even pay attention to any of it.
Good.
Like, I'm just like, I really don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I kind of live in my own bubble as much as like I'm out there. And maybe it's good because I don't get influenced by dumb things. And I just say what I feel like saying. And I don't really care. People are like, dude, do you think, like, are you afraid that's going to lose business or, you know, you get canceled? I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it really doesn't matter to me.
This is actually my first time talking about faith on any social media platform. I've always just kind of been like, okay.
And I think you'll live to tell another day, dude.
I think so too. I finally am kind of at the point where, like, you know what? Everyone else has their religion. They can talk about it, whatever. Like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. Like,
yeah. And, it, you know, that, I mean, and there's different levels to it too, right? Because, for me, you know, because there's a lot of Christians who, their business truly is like, it could be hurt very bad by, you know, speaking out against another religion or this or that. And, you know, it is what it is. And that's a choice they'll have to make.
Yeah.
For me, I just don't care.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of running your own business and, you know, not having a boss and, doing whatever you feel like God's calling you to do. And it's like, I started talking about Israel and Palestine. I've talked about,
I saw that.
Yeah. Like I've talked about a lot of stuff and, you know, marriage, you know, men and women roles in a household.
That's a triggering one.
Oh yeah. You know, everything. Like I've literally talked about every taboo topic you could talk about. I'm still here. And even if it ends tomorrow, guess what? Like I said, you can't take away all the other things that I have. And you definitely can't take away my salvation. So in the end, it just doesn't matter. People like get all scared about stupid crap that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Trying to please people that could care less.
I definitely, like, I service everybody. I have all walks of religions and preferences, and I don't judge them for it. So if I'm going to talk about my stuff and I'm going to live my life, I would hope that they feel the same way.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it in the end of the day.
Yeah, and for me, I don't judge people. Like, that judge is an interesting word. I will say with air quotes, judge other Christians if we're in deep community, because if I see you acting up and you telling me you're trying to follow God, you know, I'm going to hold you accountable to it. And that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody's not a believer, what is there to judge? They don't believe the same things you believe. Like, there's no judgment at all. It's just like, I mean, that's what you believe. Like, whatever. We don't have the same belief system. There's nothing to judge.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really only meant for believer to believer.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the end of the day, too, it's also being bold. And it's like, you know, you'll never hear me say, you know, if somebody's like, but, you know, because like there are people who try to shy away from topic who are Christians, and they'll be like, well, yeah, you know, whatever the God or the universe or whatever you believe, you know, that's all good. Me personally, I'm just like, no, actually it's not all good, because it's not. Because if you think about it, right, people are coming to me for financial advice and business advice and all this stuff, right? And they're like, hey, tell me the truth of what I need to know with business. Like, I want to grow. I'm willing to change. I'm willing to do whatever. And so I will literally tell them, what they need to do. I'm like, no, this is what you have to do. These are what you're doing wrong, whatever, right? Why would I not tell them the ultimate thing that really matters?
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree with
if I truly believe that this is the most important decision for somebody's life, and I don't believe that they're going to end up in the right place and that there's a better way, I would be doing them a disservice not telling them.
Yeah.
And so, I'll never, it's not like I'm over here Bible beating everyone. And
you're not standing on the corner with a
no, like, I'm not doing that. But like, if somebody asks me about it, if a Muslim asks me about what I believe, I'll be like, I believe you're wrong. That just is what it is.
Yeah. And,
you got to be able to back it up with theology and everything else that makes you believe that.
Yeah.
So, but like, that's the whole point of social media and belief system and process. It's like, you better be committed to whatever path you decide to walk on. And look, even if you don't believe in the business model, in the faith, in the way that I think you should run a family, it's all good. Like, I'm just telling you what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You can, maybe you like listening to what I have to say about business, but you don't align with the other stuff. That's cool too. I listen to lots of people that I do not align with on these other aspects, but they have great business advice. Mm-hmm. And I'm good. Like, I'm like, dude, they're my friend. There's no judgment. It's just like, I get what I need to get out of them.
Yeah.
You're never going to align with everyone 100%.
Yeah.
On all these things. So I think that's important too, because people get too butthurt over, having one difference of opinion in this thing.
I have plenty of friends that are not Christians.
Yeah.
And I'm in the car world. I have a lot of close friends in the car world that don't share the same belief system that I do, but we absolutely are obsessed with cars.
Yep.
And that's what we get along. We look at each other's cars and collections and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
And we leave it at that.
No, and it's great. And I think the one thing social media does not like, above all, is somebody who flip-flops.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the worst thing you could do. If you're a flip-flopper or you're a pleaser or you try to just avoid any kind of like thing, it's like, dude, people respect people who just, this is what I believe.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
No lukewarm.
Yeah.
BS.
Like, I respect somebody who's fully committed to their beliefs and who doesn't just back down because they like are scared or they want to make an impression. The social, that I don't like. But, if you believe what you believe, I respect that.
Yeah. Has posting on social media, you started really seriously posting how long ago would you say?
During COVID.
During COVID?
Yeah.
And did that mark like a transitional period for you when your income started really kicking up and you started scaling out your businesses?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, would you say that that's the number one thing that has changed your life?
Yeah.
Other than God, obviously.
Yeah, but financially, real estate for sure. Because, there would be no social media without the real estate success.
Yeah.
And I think that people forget that. We get a lot of people who are like, I need to build a personal brand. And I'll be like, okay, what have you done? Oh, well, I haven't like done anything yet. And I'm like, well, freaking go do something first.
Yeah.
What is your personal brand about?
Yeah.
Being a nobody? It just, you have to actually do things.
Yeah.
To build a brand. And, I'm not saying like if you haven't accomplished anything, you can't make content. They're different because I assume majority of people here are like entrepreneurial, business-minded people. And so like, yeah, you're going to make business type content. I don't want to hear your business theory like a college professor. I want to hear what you did. Okay. So if you look at the biggest business influencers in the world, the only reason they're there is they've accomplished a lot in business and they're also very good on camera and making content. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's literally the path. Now, can you make content and get rich even if you don't have success? For sure. But you're not going to be giving business advice. You're actually a content creator. That is your job. Now, the content you create is going to have to be totally different, right? It's like Mr. Beast became a billionaire being a content creator. He doesn't talk about business. Like, his content is his business.
Entertainment.
And entertainment. So, you want to be a content creator? Well, you're going to be an entertainer. Get really good at being an entertainer. Don't try to act like a guru when you're not. So, I've got friends who like recite the news and stuff in finance. And I'm like, that's cool. You can just give the news and that's fine. People will watch it. You will make sponsor money. You'll make ad money. There's nothing wrong with it. Mm-hmm. But just know, you're a news anchor. You're not like an expert on business.
Yeah. What is if you were going to give the listeners 2 main tips to scaling Instagram and YouTube, what would that be?
The big thing that I'm telling all entrepreneurs, because I can only speak for what I think is best for an entrepreneur, is podcast. I think this is the perfect thing. We have an agency now called Pineda Media that does everything for entrepreneurs. And basically, like the thing we always put them in is just do 1 podcast a week, just like this, do it for an hour, cut it up into your clips. You can get 7 clips from this. That can be posted everywhere, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the stuff. It directs people back to your long form podcast. They start consuming your content. The more time they spend with you, the more likely they are to work with you. Mm-hmm. It helps you build relationships with other people. It's like we talk for an hour now. I didn't really know anything about you, but now I do.
Yeah.
It leads to other opportunities. It's easy. It's just a normal conversation.
It's honestly awesome. This is probably like my second big podcast that I've done, other than one with my friend Mikey Taylor. Mm-hmm. And then me and Mikey create a relationship, and I get to pick his brain about how did you build your fund? How do you manage it? How to allocate your capital? All of those answers I would have never got, and I would have never even had the questions to ask if we didn't have a sit down like this. Yeah.
Yeah. The podcast is just, there's nothing better for an entrepreneur. So I think everyone should do one. It's not oversaturated. And, the thing I'll say too is like the algorithms want it. They like long form content. You are going to piggyback off your guest audience. Mm-hmm. So, a bunch of people who follow me are going to watch this. So now they're going to become aware of you. Mm-hmm. You're also going to, just build up the watch time. We just passed like 1 million hours of watch time this year.
That's awesome.
To like put it in perspective, you talked like we had to systematize marketing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we're door knocking, grassroots type stuff. And it's like, all right, imagine, they're door knocking for 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And you have 2 guys doing it. So like you got 2 years of prospecting from 2 guys. All right, great. Well, with, over 1 million hours of watch time, that's like almost 150 years of prospecting.
Yeah.
It's insane when you think about it.
That is crazy when you phrase it like that to the audience.
Yeah. So like I'm building 150 years of trust this year. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I don't look at the end result of what did they buy or anything. Mm-hmm. You just keep building trust and relationship. Next year, what if I build 1,000 years of trust?
Yeah.
What's that going to lead to?
Yeah. That is an incredible thought. When you film, are you ever one-on-one with the camera, or are you always, for the most part?
I'll do one-on-ones.
You do? Yeah. How do those videos perform compared to like what
they do good.
Doing?
People love them.
Really?
I just don't do them that much.
Okay.
Because it takes me like actually thinking about a topic and
I know
like
this is so much easier than doing the one-on-one videos.
Yeah, one-on-one stuff.
Yeah. When it comes to scaling out your Instagram, you're basically just taking these videos, turning them into short form, posting them on Reels, and then you're taking the long form, throwing it on YouTube and throwing it on Apple and the other.
That's it.
Okay.
It's simple.
You have it there, folks. It's that easy.
Yeah, it is easy. Just execution.
Yeah. So DM him the word podcast if you want to grow your podcast.
There we go.
But seriously.
Yeah.
What was his name? Was it Justin?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was talking to Justin before you got here.
Yeah.
And I was picking his brain because this is effectively like the launch of me building my studio and doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
And getting his advice. And he's sharp.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I'm probably going to talk to him, probably do something in terms of like.
We'll get you Pineda Media, dude. We'll get you right.
Buddy.
Yeah.
Let's go, boys.
Yep.
That's awesome. What is your most profitable business venture right now?
Well, I mean, this year's been tough in real estate, so education for sure. next year I've got big plans on the real estate side. So I think it's going to be our most profitable real estate year ever next year. But I also have big plans on the education side and, the social media side. So
what's gonna lead the charge on the real estate front? That's going to be the game changer.
Well, for the first time ever, we're doing nationwide wholesaling. And so, goes back to getting good at digital marketing and back end systems because, I think we could do 7 figures a month doing that.
Yeah. Love that. One of the processes that I didn't talk about when we were talking about our initial goals is I'm for the first time now looking into doing more, building the machine to create more lead flow so that I'm not, because I still work weekends, dude. I'm 30. I have 2 kids and I'm going to church and then I'm sitting in open house after. And
that's the worst part about being a realtor.
Yeah, it is. I will tell you guys straight up, doing this 10 years, working weekends sucks. There's no way to sugarcoat it. I'm building my brand by having all the signs out, putting 50 signs out, meeting people, etc. But it's hard work, and it's not something that I particularly love doing. But building out that beast to create the leads, and then the team. What's up, Eric? Shout out, Eric. To facilitate the leads is something that I haven't effectively done before. So I'm hoping to take that piece of advice from you and.
Yeah, I mean, look, digital is always going to be scalable, right? What you're doing is not scalable. So, for us, I don't even know how many leads we're going to generate today, probably like 500 leads. So
that's crazy.
If I'm generating 500 leads sitting here and you have to go hold open houses and everything, it goes back to rethinking the process.
Yeah. My business dies if I'm not there.
No, I get it.
That's 100%.
Everyone's done. 99% of people's do.
Yeah.
So, you have to rethink the process of what's scalable to get to the next level.
So you're going nationwide. That's interesting. How do you plan to valuate these properties in different states? Like random lead comes in. I guess you can always draw a circle around it and look at the recent sales, and
it's actually way easier. I mean, process driven. We have multiple apps. We have our own software called Wealthy Deals that gives us all the values and everything nationwide. We have AI scoring to know what's the best potential deals. We have Investor Lift to have access to all the buyers in the whole country. And, I know exactly what they've bought and when they bought it and who was interested in properties around it. So, it's actually really easy.
That's cool. All right, brother. Appreciate you having me out here. This was an awesome experience. I am actually super stoked that we got to meet each other. Way easier to talk to and way easier to communicate with than I had originally thought.
Yeah.
And I'm stoked to now use Pineda Media to scale out.
Yeah, let's do it, baby. Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming out, man. I'm excited to see what you accomplish, and it's going to be good, man. You're already doing great things. So now it's just refining.